Hey everybody, welcome to the Richard Listen Show, and we are live, and my guest is bringing the enthusiasm, so I've got to up my game today. Hey, listen, I'm usually monotone in my chair sitting back, but today is going to cover some, if you're going to step in the octagon, you got to be ready. So today we're going to cover the mental state of fighting. We're going to talk about what it takes to win and the mental game behind all of that. Before I introduce my esteemed guest who's in studio today, Mr. Kevin James Gonzalez, and all his wonderful talents, accomplishments, and productions, my brief rant is that book is coming along well. 2019, you will see Richard Liston's book. We're working on editing right now, so stay tuned. Thanks to all of you who've chipped in about your pain points, and we hope to be addressing them. Brief story this week, Kevin, for my listeners about expanding your desire for what you want to have come into your life. This week, I walked out of my house. By the way, we got Magic Johnson quit the Lakers. Tiger Woods won the Masters. Things are happening in Los Angeles. It's an exciting time, and hopefully we'll get into all that a little bit as well. But left my house one morning last week, went to get in my car, and found a gold chain on the ground.
There you go.
Gold chain on the ground. And, oftentimes we think about our desire, about wanting big things of value. I sent it off, picture to my jeweler friend. He said, if that's real, that's worth a lot of money.
Right.
So throughout the day, I was walking around feeling like I had a lot, and what that excitement builds,
yes,
and what that does to your state of mind. And of course, then I found my jeweler friend down the road, and we weighed it, and it was a lot.
Yes.
and then, of course, I looked up the calculations, and this was going to be, a significant chunk of change. And I thought, what would I do if I had all this money? And that built even greater desire, because I thought about, giving my son the opportunity to go to some college ID camps. I thought about giving to my loved ones, making them happy, who've been working real hard and feeling like they can't take care of themselves.
Right.
And sure enough, it was fake. But you know what? The bottom line is, next morning I woke up, and in my inbox, it's taken me 5 years, but thank you. Board of Sports Psychology has approved me to take their exam. So, all those the gifts we want, the things we want, don't always come in the package that we frame them in. So please don't limit yourself to thinking about money as your definition of success. So I just wanted to share all that with you. It was an exciting moment for me, and I knew it was a real test. So look for those tests and challenges as they come to your life, and share them with us. I love the different ways we learn. They're not always in the ways we set out on the process. So without further ado, he's made his time available for us, changed his schedule around. Our guest today, Mr. Kevin James Gonzalez, he's going to give us his appropriate rank. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor, as well as certified by the national organization, which he will help clarify for us. He speaks Portuguese, Spanish, and English. He's a former Army, served the Army. His two sons, one son, is a Marine and a helicopter pilot.
Yes.
Current helicopter pilot, so thank you for your service.
Thank you.
He is next to me. You can't see it just yet, but he is an accomplished author of several books. We'll leave it when you get to several books. That's when you stumble the host, which hopefully he'll tell us about. He is an entrepreneur. He is a $1 million realtor. But more importantly, I like to introduce him as a social media ninja. He's going to tell us what that means.
I love it.
He's he's at one point he's going to take this microphone and run with it. But 30 years plus experience in the real estate industry, and again, we're going to get into the mental performance behind all that. What's led him, including to the roots behind his success and drive. So without further ado, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Richard. It's an absolute honor. I'm very grateful to you and your staff for reaching out and asking me to be on the show. It's always a privilege when you get to share a message. And so I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to share my story. And hopefully we'll inspire some people today and get people thinking a little bit different. And So I look forward to it.
Absolutely.
So let's do this.
Yes, sir. And
I'm all yours.
And that's one of the, that's one of the best things I love about the show, Kevin, is that, inevitably 2 hours after the show, or I wake up tomorrow morning because we're in Los Angeles here.
Yes.
And you get to see how many people are checking in who are interested in real estate or fighting, or maybe even areas you didn't think you would reach.
Absolutely.
Maybe who are serving our country right now. And they share something about their experience. And we can't always dress, we're not meant to be, this is not a clinical show, but it's like, correct, if you inspire someone else to take even one action, then we've done it. That's right.
We've served, right?
Yeah.
And I come from that mindset, right? For me, I would start with all mindset. It's all about being in the right space, the right place. Enthusiasm is everything. Walking in gratitude when you can't find your way is a great way to kind of just get yourself back to check and balance. And then appreciation for those around you, because it takes a village.
That's right.
I am here, but I am standing on the shoulders of many people who've been here to support, encourage, and really just show unconditional love. So
yeah, and thank you for highlighting that. It's amazing to see. I love having people on who are motivated by values and principle.
Yes.
And seeing that as what's like grounds them, no matter what the financial success level is.
Correct.
There's something else driving the center of that. And
yes.
So where did that start for you, and how do you keep that? Right, it's kind of easy to be grounded and focused when we appreciate, each meal and things like. How do we keep that,
right?
As we move up the chain and get through to several books from one,
Well, I think it goes back to obviously my ecosystem, right? It starts with family, and so I'm very fortunate and blessed to have what I consider the best family in the world, who has loved me unconditionally regardless of my fails. And I want to start by saying I have failed a lot, way more than I've had success. And this journey that I've been on, I've been very fortunate to have people around me that have just been very encouraging, very supportive, never really looking for any fault or failure, but more encouraging you to push yourself to the next level. And then that kind of goes back to when I found jiu-jitsu and how that impacted my life. Started with that mindset.
Did you find that before your service?
Yeah, I found that before. And so, you hear a lot about people saying what their experiences are when it comes to martial arts, and how that, most people go to learn how to defend themselves, learn how, if they're weak, they kind of get strong. If they're strong, they learn to be intelligent. So there's some tremendous benefits in that art. So there's tremendous benefits in that. And so I've been very fortunate to have started with my first professor from a white belt all the way to my now first degree black belt. And so that journey has been, over a decade of conditioning and training. And really it teaches you to not think about money. Our success isn't really measured in dollars. It's more measured in the character on and off the mat. And so one of the great things that I've been able to kind of put forward as a discipline and really as my principle that I live by every day, character is more important than fame or fortune. And so I want to continue to be a better man, a better father, a better son, a better leader, a better CEO. And so I have to constantly be open to learning how to be a better person, how to get educated, how to learn about topics that I'm not aware of. And it's just this constant grind that kind of keeps you grounded. And so when you tie that to having people to love and support you, you're never worried about failing. You're never worried about coming up short, because no matter what, that's not what they're measuring. They're measuring that massive action that you're taking to grow in that sport.
Yeah. So which one were you, by the way, for the jiu-jitsu? Were you seeking? Did you know you were seeking something?
I was definitely seeking something. And what I found about jiu-jitsu, also being known as a gentle art, is my first experience was my coach, Marcelo Mafra, who had just arrived from Brazil. And there was this very guy that got here, couldn't speak English. We had a tournament, a grappling tournament. He, first time ever competing here, and there was this guy that was just quiet and beautiful smile and meek and said nothing, and then went out on the mat and destroyed everybody, literally destroyed every athlete opponent. And that left me for the first time in my life going, how is that even possible? How is not strength, not speed, it was all technique. And I was like dumbfounded that jiu-jitsu was so effective. And what I found beautiful about it was, here was a guy that was just kind and humble, and he was just quiet. He wasn't, he wasn't pretentious. He wasn't with his chest out. He would just smile, shake your hand, have a great day. How are you? Good luck today. This is my coach, where
you became your teacher.
Where I became my teacher, and he's been my teacher to this day. And so
was he aware that this is like his mental approach, or is this just his character?
It's just his character. It is his character. And so he had a saying that I had learned a long time ago: say nothing. So they, keep your mouth shut. So they call it, boca fechada, meaning just shut your mouth, let your jiu-jitsu speak. If you think you're good, just do jiu-jitsu, and it will speak for you. There's no need to make comments or condescending or tell guys you beat them or you choked. Like, leave that out. Just focus on you, your technique, and your own ability. And so I was very fortunate to meet somebody like that who really instilled those early on. And my life has changed completely forever. Keeping in mind that when I go back, I was 315 pounds when I was started.
Wow.
So
what are you now?
192.
Wow.
Yeah. So 5 world championship titles. I work for the Federation. I'm a first degree black belt under the IBJJF. I'm sponsored by Shoyoro, which is one of my jiu-jitsu sponsors. I'm the international host for Checkmate Worldwide. I've had over 700 athletes that stay with me, that pay nothing, that I open my home to 3 or 4 times a year.
You got to get a bigger home.
Well, we have a pretty big home, and it's always full of 20, 30 people that come through there. And it's been fantastic. And again, I think it goes back to the character of how much I have fallen in love with jiu-jitsu, the art and what it means. And now I've been able to travel the world and compete and teach and train. And it doesn't matter where I go. I have friends that are very welcoming. It's like a brotherhood, and it's out of respect, and it's never pretentious. It's never how bad you are, how good you are. It's all about just sharing and encouraging and really being a great partner to that community, because it's a movement.
Now, is that in your school, or have you noticed that in across?
I would say it has fundamentally it's starting to spread more, but that started with my own academy and the academies that I have learned. Our founder, Leo Vieira, which is out of Brazil, him and his brothers, he is the founder of Checkmate Worldwide. I think we have over 10,000 Checkmate affiliate members now worldwide. And he is the most humble, wonderful, again, it's just going back to when you look at the character of these people. They're married, they honor their wives, they honor their families, they sacrifice much of, for the love of the sport. That's really hard to find. That's really, really hard to find.
So for the average Joe, or for the serious fighter out there, how important is for you to find like a match in terms of a mentor, someone who inspires you when you choose a studio?
An academy? My recommendation always is, I always tell students when I always get asked the question, because I get asked quite a bit, especially off Facebook, Instagram, people are always, KJ, what should I do? And I always encourage you, go see 3 academies. And don't look at it from the cost perspective. What you want to do is talk to people just about their experience. And if it's all about the fight and the opportunity to win, that may not necessarily fit you well, because I think it goes back to each individual's goal, right? Some people want to go for a health reason. Other people may want to go to be self-defense. Many people today watch UFC and think they're street fighters, so they want to go and get on the mat, and then they come and experience something completely different than what they're thinking. They're thinking one thing, and then they walk onto a mat and roll with a high-level guy and go, oh my God, this is not what I thought. And most people don't continue because of how difficult it is. It's not an easy sport, right? So my advice is going back and interviewing 3 people, and then find how they interact. Are they befriending? Are they kind of, toughish? Are they kind of making you feel like you're the guppy and they're the shark? Like, you want to make sure that you're in an environment that you can thrive in, not be discouraged. Because for many people, I've seen academies, I have personally been to academies where I've walked in and then I've seen the instructor just, guy first day on the mat and just punish him. That guy will never come back. And that doesn't serve anybody. It didn't serve his business. It didn't serve the student. Definitely didn't serve the community. And so, we're trying to stay away from that. And so I use my platform to share that message. That's why I get to travel, and everywhere I go, I have seminars and I'm able to teach. And again, it's really coming from a place of love for the sport, love for the community, and it's really to further the movement of what jiu-jitsu is and how it's really become very prominent in 2019 with UFC, and the sport is really starting to explode. And the best thing isn't just the self-defense or the physical benefit of it, it's more the mindset and being able to cultivate wonderful relationships. Like, it really teaches you how to be humble. It really teaches you how to come from a place of love, and it really teaches you how to have respect for the people that you're training with, because they're on their own journey and you're doing it together. And the one thing that I've always said about jiu-jitsu that I really truly love, it is the greatest equalizer. I don't care your social status, your financial status, I don't care what race, religion. When you get on the jiu-jitsu mat, it's the greatest equalizer. For sure.
Yeah, that's the beauty of martial arts, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yes, mixed martial
coming
arts,
from
yes.
a Kempo karate
Yes.
background, when you enter the dojo, you're always bowing to the sensei. You're bowing to the dojo. I mean, it's a sacred
Correct.
space.
Yes.
And you need the opponent to train and get better.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, right, and you can feel that, right? If there's not a respect with your opponent, it's kind of like
nobody's winning, because you cannot grow without partners. You need to be a great training partner. And so it's, one of the things that we encourage is leave the egos at the door. We don't have room. We don't have time for that. If you're coming in, again, it's mindset. Look at who your principals are. Look at who your professors are. We're leading by example. So we're leaving with contribution. We want people to feel welcome, and yet we want to push you. Every time you get there, we want to push you just a little more to challenge yourself. Because again, you have nothing to prove to us. You're there for a reason. Whatever that reason is, we want to help you win that cause. So if it's losing weight, great. If it's self-defense, great. If it's to get strong, great. It really doesn't matter. It's a very neutral thing. The thing is, we respect the fact that you're there. We value you because we need people like you to grow too, right? So me as a professor, it doesn't mean just because I'm a first or second or third. It doesn't matter. What matters is I have the opportunity to learn, empower, train, teach, and coach, and instill a wonderful belief, right? Because it goes back to belief of helping make our community something that's very alluring, attractive, and it draws people in, and that's an awesome thing, especially when you get the ladies out there that are 110 pounds. Like today I was rolling with one of our professors. She weighs about 115 pounds, and she killed me.
Yeah, I always share that in karate, my greatest opponent was when I was sparring someone around 100 pounds,
right,
female, because my approach, we become habitual in our approach of moving only backwards and forwards, and someone who can move deftly from side to side and pick at that one weak point and be able to
break it down and then find your weak spot and then capitalize on it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Exactly. Well said. Exactly. Yeah, and so I'm glad you highlighted that. Yeah, it's not always, and that's the thing. If you think of your opponent as always trying to beat someone bigger or stronger, or that's the way you attack all your problems.
Yes.
What's the thing? If you're a hammer, everything's a nail. Right.
Yes.
So,
but some days you're the nail and some days you're the hammer. I think one of the things we want to encourage is that you learn the strength comes from being able to be dynamic in both. Because again, if you're beating everybody, you're not learning or growing either. So you always want to be in a position where somebody can challenge you to push you to the next level. Because that's how we learn. We're not going to learn if we go and never really add weight, right? We go and do a bar. After a while, that does nothing. You start to add weight onto that, 5 pound, 10 pound, 15 pound. It's incremental, right? It's a process. The other thing about martial arts, Richard, is people have to be patient. It's like playing an instrument. The greatest pianist in the world didn't just get on a piano and play, right? They have to practice. And this philosophy, this principle that we demonstrate and teach every day on a massive scale, is really important in every other element of your life. My business is directly correlated to the success I have. It's because it's the mindset that I have in fighting to be a world champion, to make the sacrifice, to make the weight, to eat the diet, to give up all these holidays, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, Christmas Day. Those were never afforded You want to be a world champion? It's sacrifice. And you got to be willing to do that. And when you run into business, it's the same thing. And it really helps you breathe, control your emotion, and you win. You find ways to win without feeling, oh my God, I'm in trouble. No problem. I've been here before. This hurts. It really sucks. But it's okay because you know there's always another move. There's always another move. There's always another move.
So I want to get into that piece of mental skills right there in a second. But I just want to highlight for everyone the few things that you just naturally brought up, which is, you know, part of, you know, mental skills being your attitude, your
Everything. Commitment.
Okay, that's what you just highlighted for us. You know, the willingness you need a challenge to grow, right?
Yes.
You know, and the fact that community and environment are a very big deal, and the type of team you're going to be on. And I'm glad you said it in individual sports, but also for team sports, where if you're just looking to join a club or a team that's about winning, you know, I think you got to look at what are the principles being taught. If you're a parent out there, you're a sports parent,
Absolutely.
and you're looking for, you know, how to guide your child best, looking at the culture, looking at how do the other kids, you know, what's the team dynamic? How do they work through conflict? Can they handle losing?
Yes.
Because if it's just a for-hire kind of culture, where, you know, the minute you lose, you jump ship, I'm not sure that's the best way to teach your child about adversity, because you don't figure a way out of that hold. I wanted to ask you real quick before you get into how to get out of those situations. I don't remember who it was. My first experience with, I think it was when the MMA was really early on, was with a Greco-Roman wrestler. And was it one of the Gracie? Was that who it was when he was being like? I just remember this huge Greco-Roman wrestler, and this guy, like, I mean, with almost no room to breathe, using you probably know the name of the move, or you know exactly the moment.
There's so many different names, but yes.
But I mean, literally, exhausted this Greco-Roman wrestler. And I remember being like, right out of high school, being like, I have no idea how that man withstood that much weight and strength, but but was completely focused on what his legs were doing.
Right.
So did you see that? Was that, I mean, is that the kind of thing that inspires you?
It does inspire me. Again, I'll go back to a couple of things that you were saying about the kids, right? How to teach kids adversity. One of the great things that I always recommend that people do is when the professor comes, like, make sure that they acknowledge every student. So for me, anytime I walk on a mat anywhere, doesn't matter, I always shake everyone's hand. And what that demonstrates is respect, humility, keeps you grounded, and it lets those people know, okay, they for some people, they'll never think they'll be a black belt, right? They'll come in and go, oh, I'm going to do this, and then they find out that it's really something that they're passionate about. We don't talk about belts. We talk about journey. We talk about lifestyle, because the jiu-jitsu, it's a lifestyle, and it's really beautiful. And so those are one of the things I want to recommend when you're saying kids and how to deal with adversity and what academy. Those are things to look out for. Back to that, size and speed mean nothing in jiu-jitsu when you are very capable in your skill set. Your technique will always conquer speed and strength. So that's why you've seen really big guys. If you ever watch the K1 back in the day, where 300-pound guy is fighting a guy that's 150, but he's a jiu-jitsu practitioner, and he's high level, and he ends up submitting this big guy, right? So yeah, you're going to take some abuse, but you always know that you have a base to defend yourself and attack. And so what I love about jiu-jitsu, it's always, for us, it's position, transition, submission. And it's a never-ending sequence. So you reposition to get a better position. All right, that position's not working. I can't get the submission. Retransition, get a better position, go for the submission. That submission didn't work. Reposition to get a new transition. So it's this constant attack, defend, attack, defend, attack, defend.
So you have to be willing. So there's an acknowledgement, like, I've been knocked down, right? So it's like, so.
Yeah.
So
I've been tapped a million. I get tapped every day. And I get tapped hard, and not because I'm not learning. It's just that people are able to define and find your weak spots.
Right.
That's that technique.
So, but within that, so if your game plan at first is, right, is it always to be on the ground?
Always to be on the ground.
Okay.
For me, I love it. So I've had my children bring their high school buddies, And they'll always say, "Oh, Mr. Gonzalez, I don't think that stuff works. You're too old. I'm in my 50s." And I'm like, really? Let me share with you. What would you guys like to see? And I just did this over the holiday where my kids bring their high school friends, my daughter, and she's like, so we get 40 guys in the garage, and I get the biggest guy. And he's like, "Okay, let's see if it works. I'm going to take you down." And then I'm like, "Okay." So they double leg, take me on my back, and I'm like, "All right, no problem." And everybody goes, "Oh my God, he took him down." But bro, we haven't even fought. Like, you just brought me into my world. Like, you're in, right? And then I submit them. And when I do it so effective that it makes them go, "Oh my God, Mr. Gonzalez, I respect." Like, they respect the sport because they realize it's not about.
Do you make them scream that?
Oh, yeah. Say, "Who's your daddy? Who's your dad? Who's your daddy?" Yeah. Yes. So yeah, it's very, very good. So back to your point, yes, it's technique, and so you learn to have confidence in fighting off your back. And again, it's a wonderful thing. I'm very confident no matter where I go. I don't care what people think. Regardless of everybody's entitled. I just learn to walk in respect for everybody's position. I never force upon our own beliefs. If they're in our community and in our culture, it's because they're resonating with what we believe. And I think that's where it starts. It's the belief of we want to be contributors, we want to help others grow, and we want to encourage other people to be the best version of themselves. And I love it not only from a male perspective, but with the women. I teach a lot of women and a lot of kids, and I love it. I find so much value in it. And it has taught many of the athletes how to be a better partner in a relationship. Many parents have said, "My kids, oh my God, Mr. G," they call me Professor KJ. "Oh, my kid's behaving so much better. He's so respectful. He's so nice to his sister." And I love hearing those effects of what we're doing and impacting. It's really, really important.
Well, the self-control component is
the discipline, yes, because they need to learn to love themselves, and that's what I love about that sport. It teaches you how to love yourself beyond anything else. And I've never met a sport, whether it be Muay Thai, boxing, those are very, in my personal perspective and opinion as I've traveled, they're limiting. Jiu-jitsu is infinite. There's no you can fight upside down, inverted, on your back, handstand, flying cartwheel. Most guys are most dangerous now inverted, meaning you put their legs over their head and then you think, "Oh, I'm going to smash this guy." And then they end up submitting you because of the technique. And you're not used to fighting in that 360-degree dimensional space. We're so used to fighting two-dimensional, like I'm just going to stand here and punch. Well, jiu-jitsu is infinite. It doesn't matter if you're inverted, doesn't matter if you have a leg, it doesn't matter if you're this way, that way. I can fight you from any position. You can mount on top, mount on the back, it doesn't matter. I have a defense and an attack for every position. And that's what makes jiu-jitsu so special.
Wow. Well, I'm just like trying to picture like you on a swivel.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Well, isn't that part of it then? It's almost like the greatest advantage is that your opponent thinks that they've won.
Yes.
And then they leave themselves vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. Yes. Which teaches them humility. And so it's like in life. As we go through business, how do we see the blind spots? It's really hard to do that. When you have the right people in your life, it teaches you how to filter out what doesn't belong, and then it really encourages you, inspires you to surround yourself with more people that are like-minded, that will help you get further ahead in business, on and off the mat, because for us, it's not just about winning on the mat. We have guys that have won on the mat and do horrible at life. The goal is to do really well in life and enjoy the fruits of what you can get out of the mat.
So as a professor?
Yes.
Is that the appropriate term?
That's the appropriate term,
yeah.
Yes.
So as a professor, how do you, kind of sense out what's their personal demon or where they're struggling, and do you take on that kind of mentor coach role? Or,
yes. For me, it's very easy. I think, one, because we make people feel so welcome. And we always tell people, look, I know you're new here. This won't be fun for you for the first couple of weeks. I assure you for the next 60 days, your body will be sore from top to bottom. But I tell you this, you have my word that if you give me a year, your life will be different forever. I truly am adamant about 1 year of jiu-jitsu in the right academy with the right instructor, and there are many wonderful academies. You will not only see yourself different, you will be different, and people will acknowledge how different you become. And like I said, it takes the guys with these big chips, like they think they're really tough, and you put them on a mat. And I have many experiences and stories where I'll put in a full-grown adult with a 12-year-old kid, and the 12-year-old kid will submit the crap out of him. And then he'll be like, that shouldn't have happened, right? But it happens. And then I'll say, now I want you to fight this girl that weighs 1/3 your weight. And they're like, dude, that's ridiculous. I'm going to smash her. And then they end up getting choked out several times, put to sleep. And it makes them realize, oh my God, this stuff does work. It is effective. And then they get that perspective of, how can I learn that? Well, first you got to check your ego at the door, because we can't have attitude. We don't need egos here. You're not going to learn, right? We're all here to learn. So you got to be a good training partner. So just know you're a white belt. That journey, it's not about the belts. So when people start asking like, well, how long will it take me to get my blue belt? This isn't for you. Not in us, not in my academy. If your only concern is asking me when you're going to get your belt the way I was taught, you'll never get a belt. So that's not the way we are trying to empower others and encourage others. We want them to accept a lifestyle and a belief system that says they can be the best version of them. And the way we're able to do that is by controlling our emotion, controlling our mindset, learning how to breathe when things get very difficult, and know that that too will pass, and that you always have another option. You're never stuck. So a lot of people get stuck, they get closed-minded, and they feel like, oh my God, I can't move, and that's not gonna happen. My relationship, and instead of taking the moment to stop, be still, breathe, because we stop breathing, we get anxious and we get hyped. Once that stop breathing, you stop thinking. When you can't think, you're in trouble, you're done, right? Fear sets in, it's over.
These amazing principles, right? You know,
Yes.
using the breath, slowing down, reevaluating, right?
Control the emotion. Control your emotion.
But what do you do when you get a guy? Because a lot of people are comfortable getting into their body, especially people who've been athletes and now they want to try, and they do become skilled in learning new techniques, right?
Correct.
But how do you help them transfer that to life? Like if they're struggling, you know, making the money, right?
Yeah.
And you see there's some level they're not applying the principles.
And so you want to sit after the fact and encourage them. So what is going on in your business, and what can I do to encourage you to feel? Because again, for many guys, and I'm just saying for many guys that have conveyed to me their challenges, it's really the mindset, because they tie it to the measure of success for them is $1. And it's not about money, just like it's not about belts. If the success is predicated on dollars, you've already lost. That fight's over. You got to get beyond that part. And that's where we're encouraging guys. Listen, if it becomes about money and all you're thinking about when you're talking to your client is money, bro, you're out of business. You just don't know it yet. That will get you this far. And remember, if your best thinking got you here, but you want to get here, I'm here, you're here, but you want to get here, but your best thinking got you here. So what do you got to do? You got to be open and humble to take the advice and the constructive criticism that will help you get here. And that starts by first taking a breath. I don't know what I don't know, but will help you there, right? So I think it's important that you surround yourself with the right people. It takes a village, but we have so many hundreds and thousands of athletes now that we're able to really harness that it just becomes part of the environment. You know, you come to our academy, it doesn't matter which one you come, and there's 40 guys and they're all loving on each other, they're all respecting each other, they're all pushing each other and encouraging each other. It's hard for you to be the odd man out. You won't survive, right? So it's like in business, either you work your way up or you work your way out. And I tell people, I don't believe in firing. I believe in this ain't working for you. You have the opportunity to work yourself out of a job. I'm not going to fire you, but you'll just work yourself out of a job, because what you cannot change is character. And again, I'll say character is more important than principle, than fame, than fortune. Character is everything. So you can kind of tell, and some guys kind of want to check you, like, are you really sure, KJ? Is that really? And I'm saying, listen, trust me. If you apply these things, you want a different response, do this.
Well, it's a process, right? Because you're saying what creates the character, right? You're showing them habits, practices, right? So someone may say, well, what does that mean? My character, like you said, this chip, this attitude, maybe I feel it's necessary where I'm from.
Correct.
Or in my home.
Correct.
Right? And it's been adaptive, even though I'm not happy. It worked for me because I had to have it.
Yes.
And so there's this but what you're saying is, well, you want to raise your level of character up to get your goals met. So, right, sometimes it's inverse, right? We just got to show you the practices, the habits, right? Both physical and mental.
Correct.
So whether it be shaking someone's hand, looking someone in the eyes, right?
Yes.
That show, right?
Yes.
The discipline, which is like self-reinforcing, right? So a lot of my clients come in and they say, well, how do I get self-esteem? How do I do something that I'm used to doing, the things that just keep me kind of comfortable?
Correct.
I go to work, I come home, and I'm just used to whatever, your vice may be. So I like the saying I've gotten, I think, from AA, which is self-esteem comes from esteemable acts.
Correct.
Right? So, right, you want to feel good? Sometimes you have to do the positive things first, and if you don't know what those positive things may be, reach out to a mentor, a friend, somebody else who you think, you just look at them and you go, that person just seems to be doing good things and inspires you, even at least admit, don't be afraid to give of that energy, even when you feel you have nothing to give.
Correct. If I can point out something that I think as you're experiencing that, or as somebody being me experiencing that, my advice is, and this is a really important word, so if you guys are listening, take note: vulnerability. The problem is people do not want to be vulnerable. And for you to grow, you have to be vulnerable. Your weaknesses are going to come out. And that's when I go back to what I was saying earlier about the mat being the greatest equalizer. Your vulnerabilities are going to show up. And there's nothing that you can do about it. So you have to learn in the mindset to embrace that vulnerability and be okay with it. That's why it's imperative that in that system that you're in the community that you're in, that when you become vulnerable, that you don't have people picking on you, that you don't have people being demeaning or making fun of you, because there's no place for that. For us to grow, we need to accept the vulnerability in our lives and in on the mats, off the mats, but that vulnerability is a really, really important aspect. And when I get guys alone and we start to talk, I'm like, look, let's just be honest about it. Like, be the man and face your fear. And they'll be like, KJ, but, my dad was like this. But that was your dad. That's not you. You're telling me you want to do something different. You want a different outcome. You can't repeat the same habit and expect a different result. So many of the guys I call son, I'm like, look, son, you have to be vulnerable. Whether that's with me, that's with your girl, but you got to allow yourself to experience vulnerability, face it head on, and then know that you can overcome. Because like anything else, I think through that process, it is a process. You can't cheat it. You got to deal with it and then move on. And as you grow, there'll be just another vulnerability. It's just another weak spot. It's another weak spot. And you constantly, and that's the beauty about jiu-jitsu. You never get there. It's a constant developing strength. So when I look back when I started, Richard, and today, man, it's different. I still have challenges. I still cry. I still stress. But I've learned how to process that in a very healthy way that allows me to continue to move forward. And when I fail, and I fail often, and I don't like the fact that I fail, but I'm not afraid to fail because I'm still moving forward. And to me, that's really, really critical.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yay!
Get that one on clip.
There you go.
But what you're talking about, the safety and the container.
Correct.
That sounds like you're creating through jiu-jitsu and through the federation.
Yes.
Is something that, because I can hear people already out there being like, yeah, I'm just not going to get vulnerable. What do you mean vulnerable? I mean, for a lot of men, it's just like,
not going to happen.
That's the opposite of what it means to be a man. Or what's this guy talking about?
Exactly.
It sounds great and all, but like, what? How do I become more vulnerable? So if you wouldn't mind, who created that container for you? Where did you find that courage, or who pushed you? Really? I mean, was it the Army where people, basic training, and it's like there is no
for me,
shelter?
It was jiu-jitsu. Yeah. For me, it was all in the professors that I surrounded myself with that really embraced the fact that I wanted and I had a passion to learn. And the one thing I can't emphasize enough, when you are passionate and committed to a process, you will be amazed at how many people will rally behind you to encourage you to win. Versus, I want all the benefits, none of the responsibility, and I want somebody else to do the work. That shit don't play here. We ain't got time for that. There are a lot of individuals that come. What we do is I try to give them grace, and I'm saying, look, I understand that's how you thought because that's the life that you grew up in. But if you're here now, Now it's time for you to be open to the idea of a new perspective. And if you're not open to that idea, then we're not a good fit. And that's okay.
So it sounds like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Mm-hmm. So the military taught you habits, but not necessarily passion. And so you may learn to get up early, make your bed, brush your teeth.
Which is important for you. People think that we're doing it to win others. We don't need other approval. We don't need somebody else to validate us. We have to internalize and learn to love ourselves. The greatest gift that jiu-jitsu has given me is the ability to love myself. I cannot emphasize it enough. To love myself. To take myself out to dinner. To take myself out to a movie. To take myself out to a vacation.
Oh, good. I'm not the only one.
That's the best.
I haven't done a vacation.
There you go, right? So listen, you learn that. It's a process. Yeah. It hasn't been easy. It's not fun. It's definitely a mental fight. Sometimes you're like, well, what's wrong with me? I'm not good enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not sick enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not driving the right car. And then you find
right.
You
it's
don't
always going to be when.
It's
when
always when
I make X salary, when I get X girl, and that's what I hear.
Yeah,
right?
And so you got to get away from that, and you got to get back to what is important for us. Our health is our wealth. So it's this very thing in business, as we look into our daily lives outside the mat, whether I'm wearing a gi, a belt or not, I'm still walking in that belief system that says, KJ, you got to love yourself. To gain all the assets in the world and to be unhealthy means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Wealth without health is absolutely pointless. And the things that we strive for aren't so much material things. We want affirmation. Who doesn't want to be uplifted, acknowledged? Everybody needs that. Everybody wants that. So you want to encourage others, and this is what I always tell people. You don't know what unfortunate battles people are fighting every day. So every day I make it a point publicly to compliment people. And you'd be amazed at how many letters, emails, even today I got messages saying, KJ, thank you for that encouragement, because I was in a spot that you just happened to make me get a different perspective. I never do it with the intent to get something back. The reason I can be happy is because I have no expectation. Because when I give something, whether it be time, money, or effort, I give it without the expectation. The reason people are so unhappy is because they go, I gave to you. What am I getting back? I gave this to you. What am I getting back? So we tie it with this over your head, and there's this expectation. And then guess what? People are people. They let us down. We get disappointed. Oh my God, how did this happen? And now I'm unhappy. Why? So learn, if I give you $20 because you need it, bro, I'm just going to give you $20.
Well, you could be my therapist.
There you go. Exactly,
that's
right?
your title.
So again, as I'm teaching and encouraging and inspiring others, I want them to have that perspective. Don't come here with an expectation. Come to give to yourself. That means that you're here for you. If you can't do 40 push-ups, it's okay. If you can do 5, do me a favor. Try to do 6 next time. And I'm just here to be your rally monkey to say you can, because again, people always start with that mindset. I can't. I've never done this before. But then you get them on the mat and you're going, well, look, he's day 2 and he did it. And when he started, he couldn't. This guy lost 42 pounds in 4 months with me. He did it and hasn't changed anything, but he showed up every day. And the thing I always tell is I tell people, look, whatever you love, whatever is important to you, Richard, remember this. Whatever we truly love or value or deem priceless will always require sacrifice. You cannot get anything without sacrifice. If you want to be the best at something, it means you have to train more, do more, be more. That means that if you're training 5 days a week, you got to train 7 days a week. I train 7 days a week, and people watch me going, where in God's name, you're not human. But what drives me is the passion, the motivation, because I know I'm making an impact, a significant impact. And that's what keeps you going, right? Because when we're unhappy, we feel like, oh, this was for naught. That wasn't really helpful. Why did I give my time to this person? They didn't value it. Bro, if I give you my time, I'm giving it to you. I don't expect you to give it back, because I know the way I live my life, it will come in other forms. That's important.
I mean, you said so many amazing things there. I mean, I hope you have your own show. Now I see why there has to be so many books. And I want to give you a chance to introduce your products you brought with you and your books.
Yes.
But I did just want to highlight, you really brought out, the mental side of the first thing before you even get on a mat and challenge yourself. The fact that you're willing to say, hey, there's a negative pattern going on here, or I am expecting, or I'm feeling let down. Here's something in my nature that this could be a chance to change it.
Yes.
And maybe for a few days you do nothing, but then after that, when you fill it in with one of the things you said, right, whatever self-care looks like to you,
correct.
When you practice, and it could be super uncomfortable for a lot of people.
It is.
And you give to yourself and you realize, right, that self-love needs to come first. The capacity to give becomes greater. The container you can give to other people is greater. So
absolutely.
I really, really want to highlight that because I know that's a challenge for a lot of people to figure out, well, how can I do this? How can I just give and not expect in return?
Right.
Like that take a lot of training on your part and a lot of mastery to get to that level.
It's experiencing the pain and embracing it and knowing that the belief is if I'm giving to this person, and I always tell people because I've been known as a very big contributor and people say, how do you do it? Look, I can only tell you my personal belief is I'm a man of faith. And I know there's always more month than there is money. That's a fact. But I never fall short. And when I host these people, when you know that you're giving, you know that your heart is in the right place. When you give to someone, they can't do anything for you. So make it a point to give to people that you can't get anything from. Because then you can't be disappointed. Because what disappoints us, we give something to a loved one. And then they don't respond in the way that we think they should respond. And yet we do. I sacrifice. I work so hard. I gave you part of my savings. I co-sign for your car and you default on the payment. And all of a sudden, instead of walking in that, like trying to find fault and say, it's your fault. I'm miserable because you. The way to eliminate that, I can tell you that and it's a process, I'm still working on my craft, is learning to just give freely. Time, energy, effort. I teach people. Some people stay, some people don't. It's okay. Whatever their journey is. And then when they come back and like, KJ, I feel really bad. Don't feel bad. I just want you to be happy where you're at because that wasn't for me. You don't need my approval. You don't need me to go, oh, you did well. I'm human like you. I bleed like you. I cry like you. I have pain like you.
Themselves.
I need you to love yourself and see that is your own challenge.
And on that note, I want to make sure I give to you, KJ. You've come all this way and you've been here sharing all these bits of knowledge. Please share with us your books, your works.
So we can talk about real estate.
Yes.
So I'm also known as a nucleus agent. Guys, I have 9 new books. Ways on property taxes delinquent. They're easy reads. Again, I work with the group, ghostwriters. Ways to advertise and promote your home. I have one on best-selling options in a divorce because many of us have been there. Best-selling secrets for the rich. I have that. I have my tips and tricks for your first home purchase. I have 2 new books. I got Complete Guide if you're a first-time home buyer. I have this new book. If you write here, these are all free. I give these at no charge. If you're a client looking to purchase, buy, sell, or invest, I have a great website, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I have Make More Money, How to Make Money with Investments on Real Estate. And then this is my 2 latest books. One's called Sold and The Best-Selling Secret. My bio's on here. Each of these books is 105 pages, 10 to 12 chapters, easy read. And it's really the best principles, best practices to help you get an insight, an understanding of what it is that you need to be asking when you're working with a real estate professional. You're welcome to get them all or 1 or 2. Just write me and tell me, KJ, this is what I need. So the real estate thing for me has been an amazing journey. I teach it, coach it, train it. I own the video production company, KJG Productions, that does lots of shows like Excellent 2 Minutes. We got 2 minutes, like Foodie Fridays. I have a Foodie Friday show on YouTube, so take a look at that. And then my other thing that I wanted to talk about right here is Timeless Skincare. They are my sponsor. It's timelessha.com, and they are a tremendous skincare product line that starts at $8.95 up to $30. Great skincare does not have to be expensive to be effective, and so this is somebody that you want to partner with, align yourself with, because they are true philanthropists. They make a difference on and off skincare.
And they let you train their
and they
employees.
let you train, and I get to train their employees. And their story is incredible. Veronica, Mr. and Mrs. Pedersen, they started with $50 in a blender 10 years ago, and today they are just an incredible company, incredible story. So Timeless Skincare, guys. Real estate, I have...
How can people get a hold of you?
They can reach me at KJ Jiu-Jitsu on Instagram. You can go to my website. It's kevinjamesgonzalez.com. What else should we talk about? What else are we missing? Executive producer?
I think that's it. I think that's where I'm going to sign us out. I want to thank Kevin for being here, bringing energy.
Oh, one more thing I want to talk about real quick. NAREP. So the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, I am the vice president. We just got back from Washington, D.C. We had an opportunity to speak to our elected officials and present some great programs and some help that we need to help the community. On April 29th, in Rancho Cucamonga, we do educational events. These are big workshops. We'd like to invite you to come. So if you need, ask about the NAREP event on April 29th. It's called Breakfast with Champions. We bring the elite best top producers in that area and make sure that we are out there educating our clients. So that's it.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Yes.
We're out of time.
Yes.
We could go on forever, but mental state of fighting, mental skills. Stay tuned. We'll be back next week.
Yes.
Everybody, check us out. YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. Richard Listens. Take care, everyone. We are out.
Thank you.
Thank you.